Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, October 6, 2025. Time in Texas, about 11 a.m. And I'd like to say thank you to Leisha E. and Becky D. for extra support for my channel. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share, and for hitting the like button. That helps my channel to grow. Some of the things we'll cover today. Atlas. Does this equal Anunnaki returning? The Texas National Guard going to Illinois, and Russian drones to Europe, and European governments collapsing. Some of my sources I'll use today. Ancient warnings, HURR, space weather on YouTube, formerly suspicious observers, HURR, BPEARTHWATCH, QUAYLE's aggregate site, Gil Broussard. Okay, so let's get started. We do have another system far out in the Atlantic, but it's predicted to turn east away from the U.S. I believe it has a 50% chance of development in 48 hours, 70% in 7 days. But it's far out in the Atlantic, and it's going to turn back to the east. No danger to America. We do have space weather. We had a small CME come off the sun a few days ago, and it's likely to produce a low-level geomagnetic storm, a G1, G2, Tuesday and Wednesday. So we have that going on. So the big news, really, we have Earth, Mars, the Sun, we have Atlas. Now, I have put out, and it appears to me that, and to billions of people, that Atlas is not a natural object, not a meteor, not an asteroid. And BPEARTHWATCH has put out that it's a spacecraft likely powered by an ion engine. Now, BP puts out today that this could be the return of the Anunnaki. And I tend to agree with BP. Now, Anunnaki. A lot of people think different things about Anunnaki. Who are the Anunnaki? The deep state proponents will put forth, these are our creators. I put forth, these are fallen angels who have mated and produced hybrids, Nephilim. This is who I believe the Anunnaki are. Do I believe that the Anunnaki have been on Earth? We have the Sumerian texts. I'm familiar with those. But for me, what I had correlated in my study of both pole reversals, and we're in a pole reversal right now. We have Earth, the North Pole, the South Pole, magnetic, not the geographic. The magnetic North and South Pole have reversed in the past. We have multiple types of evidence for that. We have geology. We have ocean cores, we have ice cores, we have rocks that all show in the past they would, say in strata, the layers of the earth, would have a north-south polarity, and then see deeper down a south to north polarity, same with ice cores, ocean cores, and so on. Now, my research when I was in college in the 90s about the pole shift is that the pole shift correlates to, well, certainly earthquakes and volcanoes, but it also correlates to the ancient text of what's called sky people. So yeah, I'm fully on board with BP's assessment. This could be the Anunnaki returning. And based on my research, where I saw a correlation of so-called sky people returning, you can find these records in Egypt, in Samaria, in Mexico, the Mayans, and so on. Correlates with pole shifts. So we have ancient alarms bringing forth a prophecy by Baba Vanga. I believe this was a blind Bulgarian prophet, talking about 2025, a time of war, visitors from space, and catastrophes on Earth. Now, it is my position as a fundamentalist Christian that the future is always in flux. It is wavering, waiting to be shaped by human prayer and thoughts. So yeah, I believe that's how our future occurs. So we simply need to be aware of what's going on. Now we have this coming forth. We've been seeing increasing earthquakes, volcanoes, which the U.S. government and other governments are trying to hide from us. So we have the U.S., we have Russia over here, Kamchatka, and we know in the past several months we've seen sevens all the way up to what the U.S. called an 8.8, and many sevens, and so on. We do see further evidence of more eruptions, earthquakes, volcanoes going on in Kamchatka, which would have a direct impact on Alaska, the Aleutian Islands, and the U.S. West Coast. We do see increased tremors in Cascadia in this area, down to California and into Mexico. So yeah, that's going on. We have this from BREITBART, yeah. So we know that President Trump, it's believed by many President Trump supporters that this current, we're in the 6th day of the government shutdown, but the government shutdown has been part of President Trump's plan to reshape the U.S. government and will allow him to lay off hundreds of thousands of non-essential government workers, rivaling the layoff estimate of Clinton of 400,000. So President Trump, we believe, is in that position. We know he's also dispersing the U.S. military to multiple locations, Chicago, Oregon. This will go to Illinois. President Trump asked Governor Abbott of Texas to send 400 Texas National Guard. Governor Abbott of Texas says the Texas National Guard is the best trained of many. And Governor Abbott agreed. Well, we have the deep state dim governor of Illinois, Pritzker, saying this is a Trump invasion. We say to the dim governors, shut up. Your people are being murdered by illegals every day, and you're saying there's no problem. There is. So the Texas National Guard are taking their commander-in-chief's orders and going to Illinois. We have this. So we had a South Carolina judge agree, Diane Goodstein, agree with President Trump's administration, and that South Carolina would turn over voter information so that fraud could be identified. She did that on, I believe, this is Monday. I believe she did that on Friday night. The deep state burned her house to the ground with her family in it. Her husband, an ex-senator, was active in rescuing family members and fell. It was a beach house, several stories, and broke bones in his legs and arms. But the family all escaped alive. But this is an example of the deep state. You go against us, you want to help the Trump administration, who is representing the interests of the average American citizens. Well, we'll burn your beach house down to the ground with your family in it. That's what we're battling. So let's never forget and stay in prayer. We have this. Now, we have the deep state in control of NATO and the European Union. And we have in France a collapsing government. I understand in Germany we're seeing much of the same because these nations are going against the will of their own people. We saw in Romania, we saw the communists rising up and taking control of the government and nullifying the vote of the people. So we see that going on. And in France, they just had a government election. They had a Prime Minister, Le Cornu, who has just resigned after only 27 days in office. I'm sure he was threatened by the deep state. So that's going on in France. Oh, and allegedly the French military captured a Russian ghost ship, one of the tankers shipping Russian oil. But it turned out to be a Chinese ship operating in international waters. So we don't see that headline anymore. And we have this. So we have the deep state desperately trying to say that Russia is sending drones into Eastern European nations. We have Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Hungary. So now the latest, NATO saw some things over Lithuania a few days ago, and they shut down the airports and NATO scrambled jets. It turned out to be 11 hot air balloons over Lithuania, which the deep state Lithuanian NATO government was trying to say were Russian drones. They were actually hot air balloons smuggling in cigarettes. So that's going on. And we have this. We have 4 European nations now cutting all aid to Ukraine, according to Hal Turner's intel. Poland, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and Hungary. This follows the recent attempt by Zelensky in Ukraine, who warned Hungary if they were going to cut off aid to Ukraine, that the Ukraine military would invade Hungary. Now we see 4 European nations saying no to Zelensky: Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. So while we have Anunnaki coming in from space with all governments worldwide keeping mum on that information, and we see the U.S. government even shutting down information sites that would give us additional information about space, I believe it's good to go to our prayer closet and with our prayers and our thoughts to take charge of the future and shape it by our prayers and thoughts. It's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.